An entitled ex-psycho boyfriend cheats on my best friend in a way that has completely ruined her. So I decide to get revenge by downloading a dating app and effectively catfishing this guy in a way that he will never forget. Here's what happened. Okay, so this story happened about 2 years ago. A girlfriend of mine had just broken up with a real piece of garbage, and I'm gonna call this guy Chris because that's the name that he gave to someone, but honestly, who knows if it's even real. To start things out, Chris was an absolute piece of garbage. He was emotionally manipulative and a pathological liar. She picked up on it fairly early and ended it after a few weeks when she found out that he was living with his girlfriend and his 5-year-old daughter. Now, I told the story to a coworker and a mutual friend over lunch, and I show her the pictures that my friend had sent me when they first got together. Well, when I show her this, her eyes bug out of her head, and she immediately sends a text to another friend of hers. This girl number 2 dated him for several months about a year and a half prior, and she's been in therapy ever since. He didn't give her the benefit of a reason to dump him, and instead just ghosted. He had given her a fake name and a fake job, and she couldn't figure out what had happened to him. She then sends back a bunch of pictures of the two of them, and it's definitely the same guy. And she thought that maybe he had passed away. Now, this coworker gossips like crazy, so she sinks her teeth into this and gallops off into the sunset. Normally, this is irritating, but honestly, screw this guy, because her CIA skills uncover more people. There's a third woman who was sleeping with him around the same time my friend was, and she brings in a fourth woman. The last girl was from several years ago, probably around when his original girlfriend was pregnant. Those two knew each other and actually had a conversation about if it was okay to sleep with your friend's ex several years later. They didn't know about the original girlfriend or my friend who dumped him the most recently. He basically just wipes himself from social media every 6 months or so and just starts fresh. So this most recent woman number 3, has HSV2 and said he wasn't even remotely concerned about the possibility of transmission. So now everyone has to get tested. So anyways, I get a little bit high one evening and I decided to download Tinder. And truly, big shout out to the internet for providing me with quality fake pictures. Also to my husband for providing a bio from across the room where he was sitting on his game and enabling my petty BS much more than he probably should have. Well, I swipe on this guy almost immediately. He was like the 3rd or 4th person. He matches back within 5 minutes and is clearly down for anything. So I told him I was working in a town about an hour and a half north, staying at a hotel, while also saying what a bummer it was that he wasn't closer. And it was right then that my edible kicks in hard, and I put my phone away and we go to bed. Now, it's about 10 o'clock on a Tuesday night in January in northern Canada. There's mountains of snow and ice all over the place. I figured that he would just get frustrated that I was far away, and maybe I'd get some slightly annoyed comments to screenshot and send to my friend. And I really didn't think this through because how could someone not see through it? Well, he went. He left and drove an hour and a half to arrive at like 11:30 at night for a girl who literally doesn't exist. I woke up the next morning to a dozen or so messages on that account that got progressively more pathetic and whiny as he dealt with the front desk. He eventually got fed up and called the German model whose picture that I stole an ugly jerk, who was probably just busy with some other guy and that I would miss out, and that if I ever wanted to level up with a real man, then I should let him know. I sent him a thumbs up emoji, I screen capped it, and then I sent it to my friend. Then after that, I deleted the profile. Now, I have a really hard time feeling bad, even though it was probably a pretty sketchy drive. I mean, it was not subtle. I didn't even change the location settings. So if he looked, it would have said that I was less than 5 kilometers away and definitely not an hour and a half north. I sort of figured that his brain cells were burnt out from running parallel lives to the point where he couldn't critically think about whether or not somebody was very obviously a catfish or not. I don't know if his girlfriend found out about this incident, but the screen caps circulated for a while, and then he popped up on a Facebook dating group a few months later. The last I heard though, he has moved to a different city, and I'm fairly certain his girlfriend and child are still there. So the fact that this guy was cheating on people is so awful, and hopefully I ruined your gas tank by making you drive somewhere I definitely was not. Oh man, this guy is absolutely the worst type of person on planet Earth. For starters, this guy already has a family. This guy's a pathological liar, and chances are he's most likely a narcissist as well. Like, who in their right mind would be like, oh yeah, I've got a girlfriend and a 5-year-old daughter, but also I want to have girlfriends all over the place anytime I want. Like seriously, this guy's a piece of garbage. He's ruined so many different women's lives, and the fact that he keeps doing it is so alarming. So honestly, I think the fact that the original poster catfished this guy, in my opinion, is so wonderful, because this is karma working its magic in a way that this guy absolutely deserves. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for only putting my name on my group assignment, all because the rest of my group literally did nothing to contribute, because right now they're angry with me and I'm not sure if I'm at fault here. Here's what happened. So for context, I'm a high school senior, and for my first period, I have English 4. We all had to do a group assignment, and it was a group discussion, and then after the discussion, we had to answer the 5 or 6 questions the teacher gave us. So after the teacher handed us the assignment 15 minutes later, the group did not do anything, not even touch the paper itself. There are 2 guys and 1 girl, and the 2 guys were on their phone playing video games, while the girl was just scrolling on social media. So I decided to take responsibility in taking the paper and doing all of the work. Mind you, I tried to make them contribute by asking them questions, but they weren't answering me. After 20 minutes, I finished the questions, and I had the paper near me, so I put my name on it and I claimed to be finished. But apparently, the group expected me to put their names as well, when they did not help me at all. They left the work to me, but expected me to put their names on it since we are a group. Well, today I walked in class and it seems like they're all ignoring me, and apparently one of the guys told me that it was my fault that they didn't contribute and that all I did was hog the paper. But the paper was literally in front of the guys for 15 minutes. Now I keep thinking, because I really don't know, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? Okay, first and foremost, no, you're not the jerk, because those people didn't do anything. They literally didn't help with any of the group project assignment, and instead they chose to sit there on their phone and do nothing. Like, that's a decision they made, and it absolutely is not your fault. So for me, if I was in the original poster shoes and I was sitting there being like, guys, we need to work on this, and then none of them did anything to help out, then there's no way I'm going to put their name on the paper themselves. At that point, that is their responsibility, not mine. So I personally love this type of energy, because trust me, we've all been there. We've all been in group projects where our partners are literally not doing anything to help out. They're either lazy and they don't do their portion of it, or they're literally just absent and doing anything else besides the project. So in my opinion, if your classmates have any problem with that, then they can take it up with a teacher who, honestly, I would go to them right away and explain the situation, because I'm willing to assume that your handwriting is all over that paperwork, and the fact that they're angry with you after they didn't do anything to help out, in my opinion, is incredibly hypocritical. Would I be the jerk if I talked to my apartment manager about how my neighbor's very loud, nearly constant anger issues are affecting me and my partner? Because right now, I really don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so this is a tricky one, and I would really appreciate some perspective on all of this. So here's the basics. My partner and I just moved into a new apartment, and other than this situation, we absolutely love it. We've been living here for about a month, but there is one big problem. Our upstairs neighbor, we'll just call him neighbor for the sake of the story, is really angry and opinionated about even the smallest, tiniest things. For example, I got yelled at for not putting my car far enough into our parking spot, even though the spots are extra long and the back was not sticking out. Also, my partner got screamed at for eating lunch at the communal picnic table because the neighbor thought that he was a homeless person. And also, on top of that, literally hours after we moved in, this neighbor lost his temper at me for not immediately putting a padlock on our back gate, which is barely visible from the street because apparently homeless people might come into our yard. Now here's the thing, this is nearly constant. We often hear him yelling right next to our front door or in his apartment, like straight up ranting and bellowing. He also keeps very odd hours. Like this might happen at 5 o'clock p.m. or at 3 in the morning. It wakes us up and then it's hard to get back to sleep until he's done ranting, which is just super frustrating. Now here's the complicating factors. The neighbor is both physically and cognitively disabled. In one of our rare civil conversations, he told me that he has MS, chronic pain, and a progressive neurological condition in his brain. It sounds really horrible and I really feel for him. This guy has also probably been sky high every time I've seen him, if you know what I mean. And this is especially judging from the smell. Now I have no issue with this because this particular substance is legal in my state, and if people want to use it, they have the freedom to do that, and it's usually not my business. But the issue here is that I don't think I, my partner, or even my property manager can have any kind of civil conversation with him about this in between his temper, him being perpetually baked out of his mind, and his cognitive issues. If I were to talk to him, I would just ask him to try and be less loud and confrontational, at least at night and early morning. I would not be aggressive at all. However, I don't feel at all comfortable criticizing the actions of a disabled person when the issues are very likely related to their disability. Even considering confronting my neighbor or reporting him to management makes me feel like a massive jerk. But on the other hand, this is our home. It is supposed to be our safe space. It's our sleep, which affects my health and quality of life because I am also chronically ill and a disabled person. I also feel strongly that even though disabilities can be awful and debilitating, a person has has a certain responsibility to seek help and treatment if their behavior is disturbing and harmful to the people around them. So honestly, I don't know what to do. Would I be the jerk if I do something instead of just letting it be? Because right now, I feel like I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place. No, you're not the jerk for calling this guy out. What in the world is going on right now? First and foremost, you said it best. This is your house. And guess what? This guy has to abide by the same rules that you do. So when this guy's screaming at 3 o'clock in the morning, all because of some stupid rant that he wants to go on, then guess what? You not only don't have any reason to take that for a second, but you also have every right to record it. Now, if I was in your shoes, I would have already gotten like a video camera doorbell of some kind and placed that right on my door and record every single interaction he has with my front door. If this guy's screaming at me, then I want evidence I can report to management. Like, the way he's acting is completely unacceptable. He has no right to treat you or anybody else that way, regardless of whatever disabilities he might be dealing with. And who knows if he's even telling the truth? You're just taking what he's saying at face value and being like, okay, that has to be the truth, right? Or maybe this guy's just a massive piece of crap and he's only saying that so you won't report him. There's a chance, because you don't actually know, that he is guilt-tripping you with fake information in some kind of effort that you won't say anything, and he can keep up this whole act of being crazy and acting like a piece of garbage. So trust me, if I was in your shoes, I would have not only confronted this guy with a camera right in front of me, but I also would be recording everything and sending it to management every time it happens, because this behavior is unacceptable. This is your apartment and you live here as well. And just like you and everybody else in the building, he should be expected to abide by the same rules that you do. I feel like I'm a terrible server because I can never keep up with the demands placed on my shoulders. Because after being laughed at by my manager, as well as being ridiculed for not being able to handle everything that was placed in front of me, I feel like I'm now at my breaking point and I really don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so yesterday at my restaurant, we have a seat yourself section. We have around 20 tables that usually seat 4 tops, but can sometimes go up to 6 tops. Usually 3 servers are up there at a time, and well, for some reason, I was left up by myself for over an hour, leaving me to take care of around 18 tables. Now, I clearly was overwhelmed, as unfortunately, I do not have the capability to give good service to that many tables. I had asked the 2 other servers to help me, and one said they had a party of 10 to take care of, and the other made an excuse to go to lunch. I then asked 2 managers for help because I know my limits and I cannot take 18 tables, but no one helped me out. Now, I was handling it okay until about the halfway mark, but at that point, I got in my head and I started panicking, and then I cried because so much was going wrong. I got so frustrated with myself, and all I could think about was how bad of a server I was. The other server came back from break, saw that I was crying, and started laughing at me, saying that I had a meltdown, and I chose to just ignore him, but I still felt incredibly hurt. I felt humiliated and like a terrible worker, but I finished my last tables as best as I could, and then I went home and I cried it out. Well, today I was in a specific section where they seat you 4 tables at max. However, the section next to mine was empty, so they filled it with 6 tables, which is still doable for me. The kicker is that my section partner got sent home early as well, and the manager gave all of his tables over to me, leaving me with 9 tables in total. And by the way, these people were not happy, all because of this other guy's poor service. I looked at him and I told him that this is getting ridiculous, and he can't keep piling work on me, as the other servers on the floor only had 3 tables each. He then got mad at me and said, "You're right, I wouldn't want you crashing out again like last night. You were too much." And I didn't say anything, but seriously, how embarrassing. How is this fair? I feel like they're setting me up to fail to laugh at me. I'm back home now and I genuinely don't want to go back there, because right now I really don't know what to do. Oh man, yeah, these are awful coworkers, because that's exactly what's happening right now. They're literally trying to set you up for failure and they just want you to struggle. And by the way, nobody can handle 18 tables at a time. Like literally, you need multiple people for that, and the fact that one person was running all of that, like if that happened to me, I would have walked out and said, okay, I'm gonna find another job, because what you're expecting of me right now is absolutely unacceptable. Not to mention the fact that your manager was laughing at you all because you couldn't handle the service. But then it's like, okay buddy, why don't you get out there and handle 18 tables by yourself? Like that's enough to make anybody crack. I don't care how long you've been serving. So yes, these people are terrible people, and they're actively trying to ruin your life and make you look like an idiot. So in my opinion, I think it's time to find a new and better job, because these people are massive pieces of garbage. Am I the jerk for asking a coworker to pay me back the full amount I paid for our Airbnb after I backed out of our trip to Hawaii at the last second? Because right now I'm incredibly frustrated and I don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so here's the situation. I'm a 19-year-old female, and I met this 20-year-old female at work, and we discovered that we lived in the same town and we know some of our mutual friends. Well, we decided to plan a trip to Hawaii together. We booked the Airbnb months ago for December, and I paid my half, which was about $534. However, about 11 days before the trip, my dad got unexpectedly hospitalized, and I'm currently between jobs after just graduating nursing school. Given everything going on with my dad's health, and the fact that I'm not in the best financial position right now, I decided that I can't go on the trip anymore. I informed her about the situation and explained that I just can't afford to go anymore, and politely asked if she could pay me back the $534 that I already paid for the Airbnb. I know it's last minute, and I acknowledge that it is an inconvenience, but it feels like the right thing for her to reimburse me, especially since she's still going on the trip and staying in the same Airbnb. She responded back by saying that she's only willing to pay me back $267 of the amount that I paid, and that an Airbnb would only give back partial or 75% of the money. Not only is this less than half of what I paid, but as per the Airbnb's cancellation policy, it is free cancellation before December 2nd, and I would even be comfortable with 75% of it, which is $402. And on top of that, she wants to give me that amount after the vacation is over. I told her I was uncomfortable with this arrangement, since I won't even be there, and it seems unfair that I'd be waiting until after the trip to get a partial refund. I've tried to stay understanding, but I feel like she should just pay me the full $534, as she is still going and using the space. So am I wrong for insisting on the full refund, or even just 75% of it? Or is she the one in the right here for offering less? What should I do? No, you're definitely the jerk here. You can't possibly be serious and expecting her to pay you back all that money when you're literally backing out at the last second. I totally get it. Life fell apart and your dad's in the hospital. But this Airbnb was booked months ago. So for you to expect your friend to pony up $500+ just because you're backing out last second, that in my opinion is unacceptable. Like, she was planning on you going to the vacation, and she already booked all of this and was ready to go. And don't get me wrong, it really is sad that you're running into these problems, but this money's already going to the Airbnb owner. Why should your friend have to give up their vacation just because you're not going? So yeah, I do think you're the jerk for trying to get the full amount, and if I was in your shoes, I would take half when she's ready to pay it, because literally she's getting ready for vacation, and for you to expect her to cough up hundreds of dollars just because you're not going all of a sudden, that in my opinion is incredibly entitled. Am I the jerk for refusing to give my friend the extra money I made when I resold their concert tickets that they didn't want anymore? Because they're claiming any profit I should have made outside of their refund should have gone to them because it was their ticket. Here's what happened. Okay, so my best friend and I have been friends ever since we were in preschool. Recently, a popular female singer came to our city, and we both wanted to go, so we looked into tickets to buy. She asked if her boyfriend could also come along, which I had absolutely no issue with. So I bought the tickets for the three of us, and they both sent me the money for their tickets. Well, a few days before the show, she was telling me about how her boyfriend really didn't want to go to this concert and how he felt uncomfortable watching a female performer in a leotard. She was telling me how he was not going to interact. No cheering, no clapping, no nothing. And he was refusing to split parking costs at the venue, even though we previously agreed to do so. Well, I told my friend that if he really doesn't want to come, then no one's forcing him. And I didn't mean for it to sound harsh, but if he is that uncomfortable with watching this performer, then why agree in the first place? Eventually, they both decided that they're not coming to the concert any longer. Now, I told them that this is fine, but I would still be going by myself. They then asked for me to send their money back, and I just refused. Whether they chose to go or not, those tickets are already paid for, and if I send them the money back, I just paid for 3 tickets by myself. I told them I would transfer their tickets to them, and if they wanted to resell them to make money back, then they could absolutely do that. They told me they did not want to put in work to try and resell them, which I then offered that I could list them, and if they sell, I will send the money back to them, but if they don't, then they're out of luck. And they eventually agreed to this. Well, I ended up selling the tickets for about $65 more than I paid for them, and I sent them their money that they paid. And with that, everyone was happy and I enjoyed the concert. Well, recently they found out that I actually made about $130 from their 2 tickets, and they said it was unfair that I didn't send them the extra money because they were their tickets, even though they got a full refund of what they initially paid. Well, I told them that I did the work to sell them, so I kept the additional money that I made from selling the tickets. They then called me a jerk, and now our mutual friends are saying I should have sent them all the money that I received. Now, I think it's completely ridiculous, and truthfully, I don't understand the big deal. The event has already passed, and they received their money back. So am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? Okay, honestly, I do not think you're the jerk at all. For starters, starters, the fact that this boyfriend is saying literally a few days before the concert that he doesn't feel comfortable watching a woman perform in a leotard, and also being like, oh, I'm just gonna stand there and not cheer or clap or do anything. Like, first of all, this guy's a complete moron, and honestly, why on earth would you agree to go to this show if you didn't want to have a good time? Like, at least pretend you want to be there for the sake of your girlfriend, because she's going and clearly she's excited to be there. Like, this boyfriend literally just ruined the entire plans all because he didn't want to be there. Now, when it comes to selling the tickets off, you absolutely deserve all the extra money for those tickets sold. If your idiotic friends wanted to make extra money, they could have scalped the tickets and made the extra themselves. But they literally said they don't want to put the work in to resell them, so congratulations, you're not keeping the extra money. Why should you send it to these idiots if they can't even be bothered to sell it themselves? They got their full refund back. They literally got all the money back that they spent on those tickets, and they did that at the convenience of you figuring it out for them. So in my opinion, that $130 rightfully belongs to you, and anybody who says otherwise, in my opinion, is 100% a complete moron. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some chill music to put on in the background, check out easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.